Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt and I do like video games, and in today's video, I think we got to talk about Halo. So let's get into it. And if you are listening to this video or if you're watching this video right now, then you know exactly why we need to talk about Halo right now, specifically Halo Infinite. And that is because Joseph Staten has left 343 Industries. Now, over the past probably 24 hours, I've gone through a whole range of emotions about this, and I wanted to give myself time to actually think about it and be rational, or at least somewhat rational, about the whole situation. Because I gotta be honest with you guys, when the news broke yesterday, I'm recording this Thursday, the news broke on Wednesday, and it will be out Friday, this video. But when the news broke initially, I thought about going live right here on the channel, just going live and talking about it. And I gotta be honest, my initial reaction was not good, was very not positive. And before I really get into how I was feeling at the time, I want to get into some more details, maybe from this article here, and talk about that for a little bit. It is an article from VGC, but the initial report actually comes from Jason Schreier over on Twitter. He says, new, Joe Staten, who joined 343 in 2020 to steer Halo Infinite toward the finish line, is leaving the studio to rejoin Xbox Publishing. And really, the VGC article is only there to just kind of say that this is part of a much bigger thing for Microsoft. I mean, they laid off about 10,000 employees yesterday, which is just that's not something you want to see. It's really not. But there is a part of this article that's very interesting. It says, quote, a report from Lords of Gaming claimed that 343 had suffered a significant number of layoffs, which are heaviest towards the individuals working on the single-player side of the studio. It says that Schreier corroborated this claim, stating that several employees had indicated 343 had been, quote, hit hard. And just to give you some insight into what my initial reaction was, my initial reaction, honestly, was that Halo Infinite is doomed. That was my initial just gut reaction when I saw this information. Like, I was in group chats with buddies, we were talking about it, and I was thinking, okay, maybe it's time to give 343 a break. Let them do something entirely different. I still think this to be true, honestly. Let 343 do something entirely different out of the Halo universe, and then let them come back to it later. And then maybe while 343 is off doing what they're doing, you can have someone else come in and maybe continue the story of Halo. Or better yet, instead of continuing the story of Halo, how about just doing, a spin-off to hold us over until 343 gets back? I mean, there's so many different spin-offs that you could do in the Halo universe. First of all, I think the biggest one would be doing an ODST 2. I mean, people have been asking for that for well over a decade at this point. But even more so than that, what about a Locke story? What about a Locke-centric game? And I don't mean Halo 5. Please don't say Halo 5. I mean a game that is a spin-off of Halo that is directly centered on Locke. I think Locke was a great character who had some pretty bad writing. And it was unfortunate that he was in Halo 5 because in Halo 5, all we wanted to do was play as Master Chief. So instinctively, we kind of just hated Locke. Okay, but right now we're going off on a tangent here. This video, as you can tell, is not scripted. I'm just giving off my thoughts right off the top of my head. But my point is that this was some of my ideas right off the top of my head as soon as I heard this news. And for the most part, I still very much feel that way in terms of, these are my ideas and I still feel like they apply even after having time to have thought about this. And looking back on my initial thoughts after reading this news, I feel like a lot of my emotion had to do with the fact that it was specifically Joseph Staten. Because I gotta be honest, if there was another person who was in that exact position who wasn't Joseph Staten, let's say anybody else was head of creative for Halo, and then just like Joseph Staten in this case, let's say they decide to leave and go back to Xbox Global Publishing, I'm almost certain I would not freak out about that. It's really just the fact that I know for me and a lot of Halo fans, it's the name Joseph Staten. It means something. Having that name attached to Halo Infinite was kind of reassuring. I don't feel like the game's in a different place than it was, 48 hours ago when he was still there. I just feel like the reassurance of that name isn't there anymore. Because here's the thing with Joseph Staten. Here's what I really thought about over the last 24 hours. I feel like Joseph Staten was brought in there to do a job specifically, and that was to get Halo Infinite to the launch, to get it launched, to get it out there, to polish it up as best as it could be before launch. And that's exactly what he did. Now, the live service aspect of the game has been the real failure up until this point. But the fact remains that Joseph Staten did his job, and now it is done. And really, there is a history of Joseph Staten doing this with Xbox Global Publishing. He goes into a studio, he helps them finish the game, he helps them get it launched, and then he goes right back to Global Publishing. That seems to be the thing he does. It just so happened to be that this time around it meant so much more for so many more people because it was Halo specifically, and he has that history with Halo. He was there for Bungie. I think undoubtedly the biggest news here is the fact that there are layoffs in the single-player department of 343 specifically. That to me signals that this 10-year plan for Halo Infinite isn't going the way they thought it would go. Because here's the thing, you can have all the multiplayer stuff you want. Halo is a multiplayer game at its core. It's really about the multiplayer experience. But you can have all that stuff you want, it doesn't matter because they're not gonna go 10 years without new Halo story content. So something is going on that end of things. Now, my whole theory on this is that, of course, they will continue to support the multiplayer. You got Season 3 coming up in March. You got the 3-month intervals as opposed to the 6-month intervals that we have been used to so far up to this point. Now, hear me out on what I'm about to say. Just give me a chance here. I feel like 343 is all hands on deck for Halo Infinite's multiplayer, but I also feel like they've kind of let off the gas. Not kind of. According to this report, they've completely let off the gas on single-player content for Halo Infinite. So I think for Microsoft and Halo, this is either one of two things right now. I think they're either testing the idea of possibly giving Halo to another studio, or the 10-year plan for Halo Infinite is out the window. I think it's one of those two things. I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to get rid of the single player department or a lot of the single player department for your flagship title for your new console, unless you've got something or someone else in place to come in and take over those reins, or the 10-year plan is dead and we're starting from scratch with storytelling for Halo. And listen, both of those things could be wrong on my part. I don't know. I certainly don't have the answers. I'm not going to pretend to. This is just me speculating in my head out loud right now. And that's really all I can do at this point. But I really want to hear from you folks. I mean, in my short time here on YouTube, I think it's been about 3 years. In fact, it's the 19th as I'm recording this. I think it's 2 years, 11 months to the day since my first real video on YouTube. But in that 2 years and 11 months, I've made a good number of Halo videos or videos covering Halo, and I know I've gained a good amount of subscribers from those videos, and I'm interested to hear what you guys think about all this. What are your thoughts on Halo Infinite right now? What are your thoughts on Halo as a whole? Halo as a gaming franchise? What are your thoughts on all of it? And where do you think Halo Infinite or Halo in general is in 5 years from now after hearing this news? Leave a comment down below and let me know how you're feeling. Leave a like if you like the video, and if you're enjoying this kind of content and you want to stay up to date with it going forward over here on the channel, the best way to do that is ring that notification bell. Consider hitting the subscribe button if you haven't already, because that definitely helps me out. It means a lot to me, and it helps you stay up to date with everything that goes on over here on the channel. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.